Here's a list of the 5 best and 5 worst things about living in Oakland, California. Hey, welcome back to our channel. My name is Hans. This is my wife, Kristen. We work for the Gunderman Group at Keller Williams Luxury, and we are excited to bring you some content about Oakland, California. If you've been following our channel for some time, we do a lot of content about Alameda, but we actually sell a lot of houses in Oakland too. Our team is #1 in Oakland, and we represent a lot of clients who are always considering Oakland, Berkeley, and beyond in the Bay Area. So we thought we should do a video about Oakland specifically.
If you get value out of this content, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel because we're going to continue putting out content just like this and you're not going to want to miss it.
Absolutely. So before we get into the list, real quick, something about Oakland. The city itself is about 79 square miles. It is situated between the San Francisco Bay and Grizzly Peak up on the top of the hill. It covers a huge amount of geography, and there's about 423,000 people who live inside the city itself.
Now, there is a ton of diversity when it comes to Oakland between neighborhoods and everything else, so we're going to capture the best and worst of all of this. And with that, let's dive into the first best thing about living in Oakland, California, and that is the diversity. Oakland has a ton of diversity, and we're not just talking in terms of the people, although there is a ton of diversity in that way, but also in terms of the neighborhoods, in terms of what there is to eat here, the geography. You've got lots of flat land that comes up into the hills. And also in terms of the housing. Along more of the flat areas, you've got some single-family homes, certainly, but also some townhouses and condos. You can be very much in the bustling urban center of Oakland. But as you go up towards the hills, you start to get more homes with views. Some of the bigger homes are up in the hills, quieter pace of life, a little bit more secluded versus the more bustling downtown. So when you move to Oakland, California, there's a lot to learn in terms of neighborhoods. We can certainly help within the specifics of that, but know that when you move here, you can get pretty much anything you want.
So on the flip side of that, because it's really desirable, one of the negatives of living here in Oakland is it's very expensive. It's not quite the same average price point as Alameda or Berkeley or some of the other surrounding cities like Piedmont, but it's still a pretty high price point. Some neighborhoods average well over $1 million. The city itself probably is closer into the 800 or 900, depending on how you slice and dice the data, but you're definitely going to be spending a decent amount of money on your housing to get into the city, regardless of what direction you go.
Next up on the list of best things about living in Oakland is the weather. The climate here is really temperate. The San Francisco Bay Area broadly has a lot of microclimates, and Oakland is right in what I think is the best slice of those microclimates. In the wintertime, we don't get any snow here. It's very temperate. People can sit outside to eat dinner throughout the winter. We get some rain here, certainly in the winters, depending on the year more or less, but overall the winters are very temperate and easy to deal with. Then comes summer, when other parts of the country are baking in 100+ degree heat. Oakland stays very mild. We hover right about in the 70-degree weather. Sometimes it'll go up to the 80s and occasionally the 90s, but overall it's very mild and easy to take here in the summertime. And then of course the shoulder season's a little bit of mix of either, but the temperature by and large throughout the year doesn't go up and down by huge amounts like it does in other parts of the country.
Rounding out that point to our sort of negative side, number 2 is simply there's a pretty significant homelessness challenge here in Oakland. It's very visible, it's really pretty prevalent all over the city, and you're starting to see a lot of people talk about it in different ways. Policy change, policing, all of that kind of stuff is changing as we speak. There's a lot of conversation about what to do about it, money being moved around. It's a complicated issue, but it's one that's very prevalent here and something you should be very aware of before you consider making a move to Oakland.
Next on the list of best reasons to live in Oakland, California is the outdoor access. Locally here in Oakland, we've got a number of really wonderful regional parks. We've got Redwood Regional Park, we've got Tilden a little bit further up north, Joaquin Miller here in Oakland, and Chabot a little bit more to the south. And throughout the tons of trails for walking or hiking or mountain biking, doing whatever you like. Some of them are off leash for those of you who have dogs, which makes for a wonderful afternoon spent up in the hills. So this is really nice because you've got the combination of the bustling downtown with a lot of businesses and people, but then you can easily get away just a short drive right up the hill to the secluded nature.
Yeah, that's absolutely something that a lot of people don't associate with Oakland, but one thing that they do associate with Oakland is unfortunately property crime, which is transitioning into more other types of crime as well. So that is our third thing on this list of things you need to be aware of before you move to Oakland. Simply the conversation is that there's been a lot of property crime. There's been a lot of different policies and opinions on how to deal with that. And it is, again, one of these topics that's really shifting under our feet right now. A lot of community activists, a lot of policing engagement, a lot of policy at the mayor's level and city council and all of that is focused on how to address this issue. But it's something that is a real topic of conversation right now and something you absolutely need to be aware of if you are thinking about making a move into Oakland, because different neighborhoods experience it differently. And with that, if you are getting some value out of this video, you're thinking Oakland might be a place that you want to check out, maybe move to, buy a property in, down in the description of the video, we have built a buyer's guide for you that tells you all the ins and outs of how to be successful in transacting in Oakland real estate. So if you are at all curious about how to get started in this process, make sure you go down below.
Next up on the list of best things about living in Oakland, California is the amazing food scene we have here. In the past handful of years, the food scene has really been on the rise, and to the point where it's now rivaling San Francisco by some people's accounts. We agree with that. We go to Oakland all the time for dinner. Whether you are downtown, up in Rockridge, or heading up towards Claremont and Elmwood, there is a ton of good food here in Oakland. And because of the diversity, we get a ton of diversity of food as well. Anything you would want here, all the international food, you can get it here.
Absolutely, but with that, unfortunately, comes our fourth thing that you need to be aware of that could be a negative of living in Oakland, which is the earthquake and fire risk. A lot of people know that the Hayward Fault runs right through Oakland. Some people have some cognitive dissonance around that, but it is a real risk and something that you should be aware of. Earthquake insurance is really, really expensive here as a result, so it may be cost prohibitive to pursue something like that. In addition, fire insurance is becoming a more prevalent issue and topic of conversation when transacting and buying and what your lender is going to require of you. So if you're in a fire zone, you want to make sure you do some really strong diligence on insurance, insurability, how much it's going to cost, what carriers will cover you both from the earthquake and the fire perspective. There are a couple of places down by the bay that also will sometimes require flood insurance, although that's a little less common than it is in, say, Alameda.
Finally on the list of best reasons to live in Oakland, California is its central location in the Bay Area. A quick drive over the Bay Bridge brings you to San Francisco. A quick drive north brings you to Marin, where you can do tons of hiking, explore Mount Tam and all the trails up there. Or you can go out to Walnut Creek, out to the east. Wonderful shopping out there, a little bit warmer in the summers. And then if you're looking to go a little bit further afield, Napa is just a day trip away. If you were to head to the south, you get to Carmel and Monterey, wonderful for playing golf or going on some bike rides or hanging out at the beach. And if you're willing to go a little bit further afield, Lake Tahoe and the Tahoe Wilderness is about a 3.5 to 4 hour drive to the east. Beautiful up there and a really wonderful weekend getaway.
As well, Yosemite Valley is somewhere in that 4-hour range, so really it's centrally located. But that does lead us to our fifth thing that is a negative, which is rush hour traffic is pretty awful here. So if you find yourself in a commute situation on a regular basis, it's something you want to make sure you bake into your life, or potentially figure out how to take public transit if that's an option for you. But because of the way the freeways all merge and come together on the Bay Bridge, whether you're going north, west, south, whatever the case is, there's a lot of people cramming onto those freeways and it can create some really serious gridlock. So if you're a commuter, if you're someone who needs to cross the bay, come in from out of town, go out of town, just expect that there's going to be a lot of people doing the same thing and it is going to get congested.
So that's it. Those are the 5 best and worst reasons to live in Oakland, California. If you live here or you've been here and you think we missed something, comment down below. We would love to hear from you. Also below is that buyer's guide. And Hans and I do a lot of work here. We would be honored to be your real estate advisors of choice. Our contact information is down below if you're interested in getting in touch.
That's it for this video. We'll see you on the next one.